Okay, I wanted to talk through another study looking at high-dose folinic acid, which is also known as leucovorin, and autism that shows its effectiveness and also its safety. So safety plus effective, and this thing's a 12-week study, so it's a rather short study, but it supports what other studies that are longer in duration, up to a year or two even, have shown. Basically, they had 49 participants. This was in China, and they had an intervention group. Actually, they had 49 in the intervention group and 27 in the control group. Nearly all of them completed the study, which is always a good sign that there wasn't a bunch of dropout. And what they found was that the intervention group demonstrated significantly greater improvements in social reciprocity compared to the control group. And those children that had MTHFR mutations had even greater improvements in various developmental domains. And the conclusion then was that promising intervention for children with ASD and its efficacy associated with folate metabolism gene polymorphism, so differences in the MTHFR function. So basically what they did is they saw, okay, there's a bunch of studies that have shown that folinic acid, which is leucovorin, which I've talked about a lot, is associated with an improvement in some children with autism, specifically because about 50% of children with autism have been shown over multiple randomized neuron development, DNA repair, oxidative damage, all of those sorts of things inside the brain. And so another thing that they talked about and looked at too was in those children that have MTHFR, which is a folate enzyme reaction. If they have decreased conversion at the MTHFR, that can also decrease the pool of bioavailable folate, which makes it harder for them to have adequate folate. Here it talks about it's involved in so folate helps in methylation, it helps in oxidative stress and inflammatory responses, and regulation, all those things. Stayed in the study, so only one was lost to follow-up, and then in the control group, 3 were lost to follow-up. One of them moved to a different study, so overall they had really good compliance and people staying in the study. In the States, at least, you can't get over the counter. There are some really low dose folinic acids that you can get off of Amazon or those sorts of things. Who knows if they're safe and effective and actually what they say. I do find that having it as a prescription makes it more likely good stuff that works and is safe. And so despite it being a vitamin, it is a prescription vitamin. This was some of the statistical analysis stuff that was a little deep for me. What they found is the intervention group showed a significant advantage over the control group in social reciprocity. So they kind of controlled for a lot of different characteristics, from age to ethnicity to preterm to maternal and paternal ages and all those sorts of things, to look and say, okay, does this make a difference? And then they look to see which ones dramatic language and the receptive language. And so flipping through some of this, these are just more studies that show what was statistically significant. So one example of that is social reciprocity. If you follow my line all the way over here, there were other areas of improvement, but that was the one that was the highest in terms of the best p-value of the whole subset. And so what they found is that these findings, folinic acid, are consistent with results from several studies from other countries, may offer significant cost savings compared to speech therapy, with equivalent benefits at a lower cost and lower frequency of adverse effects. I'm not sure what the adverse effects of speech therapy in specific are, so I'm not sure about that specific finding. And then one thing that we have seen in our clinical practice as well is that younger children with ASD showed greater improvement in core symptoms following folinic acid supplementation compared to older children. So this is another really interesting study that looks at folate and its impact on autism symptoms, impaired folate metabolism, elevated homocysteine levels, which can come when you have MTHFR mutations, and DNA hypomethylation can lead to neurodevelopmental disruption by impairing nucleotide synthesis, increasing oxidative stress and neuroinflammation, and altering gene expression, which are one of the underlying mechanisms associated with autism. And so by alleviating those, we're able to help some children with autism to have an improvement in language, communication, regulation, and sociability. Obviously, there's no such thing as a cure for autism. That's not what we're looking for, but we do want to do what we can do to help these children to thrive. This vitamin is another way that we can, in some cases, do that.